Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So if you watched my this or that tag video, you will have seen me finishing the bits off that we started together. So we already had our pale purple background in the top, and I'd started these flowers and leaves with you, so I've finished all those off. I've done kind of a paler version of my leaves in the background. Not leaves, flowers. Use words. Paler version of the flowers in the background. I used that 3-tone set that I had to make it look like they're behind everything else and a little bit more faded out. And I just wanted to do some of the more kind of little bits of detail on the page today. So starting from the top with this cluster of stars, I've just gone over these stars with a white. You need a good white, so either, to be honest, the best one I've tended to find is the Prismacolor white. You could maybe use, it's possible I think, to use a Posca and dab it off so it's not as intense. Or even a gel pen maybe, and then blot it. But your white Prismacolor is going to be the easiest thing. And I've just popped this star back in, and then these larger circles just here. I'm going to do the same thing with this one that you can see hanging around back here, just because I wanted to pick them out to be that little bit brighter and more noticeable on the page. I'm pretty sure I called these bubbles planets, and they're not the bubbles, and we will be dealing with those later, so you will have noticed these little spots missing on the page, and that was obviously on purpose. Then what I did, I've used a pale blue marker to base the tile floor. From my Touchnew set, I've used 185 pale blue light, but you just need a really pale blue in whichever set you have just to pop. I've just put it all the way over all the floor. And so of course it's also over all my stars and everything. So I've gone over all these little marks. Sharpen your pencil to a nice sharp point, and then I've just gone over all the little twinkles, shall we call them twinkles? I don't know, with my white. I've done that over the top of the flowers already, that's why they look quite nice and white and bright. So we'll now do that with all of, am I on camera? Let's lift up all of the ones on the ground, just keeping them as similar as I can to what is already there, but essentially just bringing them out white again. Try and keep them nice and thin, so resharpen as you need to. Turn your pencil as you go to keep that sharp edge. I've only been popping them over the things I've already coloured, so I'm not doing the rabbits yet because I haven't worked on those just yet. I've already done these ones up here and everything over the flowers and leaves, just to save us some time. And then The next thing I wanted to address is the bubbles. So I've already done a couple to just get myself started off and decide what colour I wanted us to be. So that is why these two are already bubbles and why this one is already a bubble. And for this, in my Black Widows, I've chosen 17 Blue Horizon from the Scorpion set, Skye 037 from the Monarch set, and Blue Moon 042 from the Monarch set. So you essentially need a mid-tone bright blue, a dark blue, and kind of an aqua pale blue, and then I've gone with the Prisma white, so a nice soft pigmented white. And all we're doing, we're taking our darkest tone and we are still following the shading we've been given. So any kind of thing that's behind them, I'm colouring over in my dark tone, and then I'm laying my next blue, medium blue tone, which is the Blue Horizon, just around the bottom edge of that bubble, always leaving a white outline. And then I'm ringing that with the aqua blue, big circle, just to blend all that together. And then around that with that lovely soft Prisma, which is going to really smush everything together. And then we're going to go back in and darken up slightly with the dark and then the medium blue tone, and a little bit more of that aqua, just to create these bubbles. Don't confuse your bubbles with these little trails of dots in the bottom. They're something else, and we're going to do something else with them. So I'll do a large one. We'll do this one. So we're taking our darkest blue and using it to cover the darker shading, and then our medium tone blue, bringing that out from the darker, and then our nice aqua green blue colour, the sky colour, and again big circle, leaving the outside edge, blending that all together, and then taking our Prisma white, giving that bubble a white edge, and then bringing that in a little bit, and then building back up our blues. That's that one. Shall we do the big one together? So that's probably the most daunting. So not quite as dark. I'm going to have a couple of points in it, and I'm not putting as much pressure on with my darkest colour. And then with my next blue, same again, I want some colour, but I'm not pressing that down as much, so we're not going to be as dark. And this time I'm taking my white early on. Clean your white off, there we go, and I want to pop a little bit of that further in, and I'll do my white edge while we're here, and then my aqua over the top of everything, blend that together, and then a little bit more softly does it over where we've laid that white highlight, You've got to give it to the black widows. They're lovely colours. And then I'm just going to build up a bit more of the medium blue tone. I don't want this one to be quite as dark. I'm not using a lot of the Blue Moon. Back to the sky colour over the top, just to blend everything together. And then the white, just overlapping slightly. Give that bubble a misty edge, just for some interest. Should we add a tiny bit of, let's add a tiny bit of the darker blue, just bottom right, just there, just to give it some depth. It's always easier to build them up than it would have been to remove the bit you don't like. That's better. Sometimes when you look at something and think, there's not enough contrast, and just wants building up a little bit. So you do this one, there's one here, I'm pretty sure I'm seeing one here, one up here, tiny one, and this one. And then we've got a few hanging around over these flowers, one here as well. So I would do all of them exactly the same. And then for these little dots in the bottom, I think we'll have a little bit of magic and mystery. So what I've done here, I've taken the Sakura jelly roll, it's their stardust set. Well, actually, it's not a part of the stardust set, it's a clear. I got this on its own. So any kind of clear gel pen that is more sparkle than colour you want. So it needs to be a clear glitter. This has a kind of a golden tone to the glitter. And all I've done is popped that in different sizes, following the different size little, I don't know, are we bubbles? We'll call them bubbles that we've got, that kind of run around everything in this kind of looped pattern. I've skipped those because I'd already done them. Am I off the edge? I was saying I skipped those because I'd already done them previously. So it kind of runs off the edge here. Let's see if we've missed anything. So it comes up and down and around. We have a funny loop to it here, and then it comes back out the bottom here, continuing off the page there, just to add a tiny bit of glitter. Can I get it to look glittery? There we go, a little bit to that page. Add a little bit of magic. I have mulled over this moon and decided it looks better left alone. The Grayscale gives it what it needs. Re-adding some of the white for the stars and the bubbles and creating these blue bubbles, I think, will be enough. I'm also leaving the background with just that marker base because, again, I think that is plenty enough. So for my bunnies, I've got the Prisma white. Where have I put my pencils? There we go. I've also collected from the Black Widow the 048, which is the light grey from the Monarch. I've got a 092, which is a gunmetal from the Monarch. And then this washed purple, 008 from the skin tone, the darker skin tone set. And then a white. And for my bunnies, I'm going to start with that darker grey, the gunmetal. And make sure you've got a sharp pencil. Flick outwards from the main body to give little impressions of hair strokes. I'm just going over the darker areas of the grayscale in this grey tone. Keep turning your pencil to get a nice sharp edge and work that in all the darker patches. Not going to make an awful lot of difference, especially if you do it right. I mean, if you can see it too much, you've probably not followed the shading well enough, because we don't want it to completely change them. We're just adding a bit more tone to the colouring. So all the darker patches, following whichever direction the fur will be growing and flicking out from the main body. I want to use this washed purple, which may be a mistake, for the ears. Yep, bear with me. But just for the inside, that dark shadow, I want to run it along there. Same for this little guy. Nice and lightly. And it's essentially a cool tone mauvey purple. If you're not using the black widows, you just want that kind of colour. And then really, really gently going over the rest of the inside of the ear. So I'm laying a bit of colour, just that hint. And that is plenty enough for what I want. I'm then going to go in with my mid-tone, this light grey, which is a very, very pale cool tone grey. And I'm going to work this into, again, just the darker areas of fur, but coming up a little bit into that more mid-tone this time, a bit further in. Add some depth to these bunnies. Make them look fluffy is the idea. This creaky board that our colour on's driving me crazy. I'm going to have to move this. I colour on my dining room table to film, and there's a box on the other end of the table, and it's moving and it's making a noise. It's really annoying me. I'm going to have to move it. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but if you can, it would irritate me. So it's gone. Hopefully that will be better. So I'm now going to take the white and with a very sharp point just work that over some of the main body and into some of that grey, just to now add white flicks into that as well. That will also lighten them back up a little bit too. Do the big guy. These are very, very cute. As always, you want it to look like fur on the edge, so little flicks, give them that furry edge where the marker might have taken some of that away. A bit of highlight around the ears on the outside. Going the way of the fur. Bringing it onto those greys as well. Add a tiny bit into the edges of these tails. Make them look a bit fluffier. And add a bit more of the darker grey as well, just to tone that length down. You can't really see it brilliantly on camera, but in person it makes a big difference. They look a lot more lifelike and less flat and more fluff instead of printer lines when you're done. I'm going to take a black, like a normal fine point pen, and very, very carefully, without touching on my highlight or anything like that, just darken up that eye detail as well, just to really make those pop off the page and stand out a little bit. Very pleased with those. That will do. Happy with those. So obviously the bunnies just have those couple of little star flashes that we need to put a bit more pressure on and add over the top now. Oh, we missed one on his bum. And essentially all that now needs, so I'm going to bring you out a little bit, which is easier said than done. Got to get a better amount. Let's refocus that. So that is essentially our bunnies. So all we need to finish those off is the bubbles. So it just needs the rest of the bubbles putting onto that page. And I think, let's do this without getting my fingers in the film, that is exactly what I hoped it would be. So that is a page from Dreamworld as requested, using Black Widow pencils with a tiny bit of other bits and pieces added in, just to make life a quicker page for you. I hope you found this useful and enjoyed the colour along. If you like these videos, pop the thumbs up button for me so that I know whether to keep doing them. And if you enjoy the channel, please do subscribe. I will see you very soon again in my next video. As always, thank you so much for sticking with these and watching them.